Or Masechet Nazir Daf Amud Aleph. We were just learning Gzera Shava because we were talking about Nazir Olam, and we said that how do we know exactly that a Nazir Olam is allowed to come and allowed to start shaving off his hair once every 12 months, which means not shaving it off, but basically like trimming, like doing a trim and bringing the korbanot. Because we said that we brought it from Shalom. Shalom was considered a Nazir Olam because it says Vahim Miketz 40 Shana v'Yamin Shalom Elmaleh l'chana v'shalem Nadiri Asher Nadatil Hashem bechevron, right? And it says over here. So therefore, since we don't know what it was, what's going on now that he says Shalom Nidri? So he comes and he says he was a Nazir Olam, and therefore he comes and he says Omegaleach, right? Hechal 12 chodesh, and he used to come every single 12 months to come and to lighten his hair. But it says Vayami kesem yim liyamin, and we make a gzera shava yamim batei arechoma, which means just like batei arechoma, you have 1 year, which is yamim, you have. Right, 1 year in order to come and to redeem it. Mahatam, just like over there, 12 chodesh. So 2 years, it's going to be 12 chodesh. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Nehorai Omer, Rabbi Nehorai says, Migaleach chal 30 yom. Says, no, Avshalom is allowed to do giluach once every 30 days. Right? He says, just like a Kol Nazir Olam, which is going to be once every 30 days. Rabbi Yosef Omer, Rabbi Yosef says, Megaleach, right? It's to trimming the hair. Right? Megaleach, Me'erev Shabbat, Erev Shabbat. We're talking about once a week even. Because that's what we found. No, it's in general, right? But it says was we found by bnei melachim shemegalchim Shabbat. So therefore, since Avshalom was the son of a king, so therefore he was able to do it once a week. Because since just like a son of a king, a prince has to do it once a week, so to here you're doing it once a week. So my Tama the Rabbi, what's the reasoning of Rabbi that he says that it's once a year? Yalif min batei arechoma. We already learned it. He's learning it from batei arechoma. So therefore he comes and he says it was once a year. Says 1 second, but the kavanah of Rabbi is that the kavanah is that you should never redeem the house before it passed away, passed over at least a minimum of 2 days. So if so, right, maybe it's every 2 days. Meaning right now I came and I sold the house. The house was in a walled city. How long do I have to redeem the house? 1 year. But when is the earliest I can redeem it? 2 days. So therefore, if I have 2 days minimum to come in to redeem the house, which means I cannot redeem the house before 2 days of the sale occurring, so maybe if it's every single 2 days. So says the Gemara, Hai Gzera Shava Mishum Koved Gamin. Huh?
What does it mean? You can cancel the transaction?
You cannot cancel the transaction right away, or you cannot buy it back right away. You need to wait a minimum of 2 days in order to buy back the property. So says the Gemara, we're talking about a Gzera Mishum Koved Gamin. What does that mean? That which Rabbi learned, the Gzera Shava, is because since it's written by Avshalom that he was gileach et rosho, right? When it was kaved alav, you're going to tell me now v'shnei yamim leka koved? Imagine right now you took a haircut. 2 days later, you're going to tell me that your hair is long, right? Obviously not. So therefore, he knew that it was not going to be 2 days. So says the Gemara ve'ima shte shanim. So fine, maybe it's going to be 2 years. What does it mean 2 years? 2 years maybe means 2 years. Because if it says yamim and the kavanah is the year, maybe it's shnei yamim, which is 2 years. So answers the Gemara, tanin yamim sheni mahem shanim, mi yamim sheni mahem shanim. Ve'al yochichu zeh sheyesh imo shanim, which means like this. When it says in the pasuk, vahi miketz shnatayim yamim, because we made a gzera shava yamim from the Nazir, from what's his name, from Avshalom, that it said over there, right? And he says, right, and then there was the other one of Yamim, Yamim tiye geulato. We're going to make a gzera shava yamim, but we're not going to make a gzera shava yamim to vayim miketz shnatayim yamim. Meaning there it added in a time frame. And if it adds in a time frame, so therefore we're not going to compare it. Because you have to compare apples to apples. Apples to apples is the exact same word twice. Yamim, yamim. The second I come in and add, even though I'm explaining, it's like an adjective that I'm coming in and adding. And you said shnatayim, it's going to be a different halacha, and therefore you're not going to mention it. So ask the Gemara, ve'ima shoshim yom. Maybe yamim means shoshim yom. If it says a pasuk, had chodesh yamim. Right? Here you already have the answer right written beside it. It said chodesh, but the same thing. So he comes and he says, Damin yamim sheni maim chodashim, yamim sheni maim chodashim, v'al yochichu, right, zeh sheyesh, v'al yochiach zeh sheyesh imo chodashim. Here you have a chodesh yamim. So therefore I do not want to explain the pasuk by of Shalom by explaining that it's going to be a month because there it's written Chodesh Yamim. So ask the Gemara, he says, 1 second. What about over here where it says Miyamim Yamima? Right? It says in Shofetim Miyamim Yamima Arbat Yamim Bashana, which means, right, that maybe it could be that he's going to do once every 3 months. Right? Because that's what it says over there. It's every 3 months. So says the Gemara, Danin Yamim Yamim, the end Danin Yamim Yamima. We always prefer to use the exact same connotation. Yamim Miyamim. Here it's Yamim from Yamima. Right? We don't want Yamima. Right? Right? We want Yamim from Yamim. The second that you're going to come and you're going to add on to it, I don't want it. So says the Gemara, what do I care? So which means I could do a Gzera Shava even though it says V'shava Kohen and it says V'ubah Kohen. Right? One's returning and one's coming. And I could still do a Gzera Shava. So therefore, if I could do a Gzera Shava from V'shavubah, Kavachom, and I can make a Gzera Shava from Yamim to Yamima. So answers the Gemara, Hanimir, when do I do these things? Hechal deleka dedamile, only if there's nothing which is compared to it. Meaning, when can I come and make a Gzera Shava which is not 100% domeh? Only if I don't have anything which is compared to it. So therefore, here you could do a Gzera Shava like that. But if I have something which is compared to it, and we're going to learn from something which is 100% compared to it. There are those that say, how do we know that every 3 months is considered one zman? So he says, maybe it's going to be, right, the 4 times which are going to be the entire year, right? It wasn't after Tkuvot Shavot. So he says, maybe I'm going to say that it's going to be 1 time, it's going to be 4 months. And then it's another time going to be 2 months, right? Which means like this. We just came and we just said that we're breaking up the year into 3 months, correct? And by the way, you should know that's called a quarter. And that's even until today we do that, right? So it says the Gemara, right? How do we know that we're going to come and we are going to call that 3 months is considered an important part of the year? Maybe Be'emet, it was split up, that it was 4 times, okay? And Arba Yarchin Chadzim, now once it was going to be a 4 months, and then another time it was going to be 2 months, right? And then things like that. What does that mean? How do you know that it's always going to be every 3 months? Maybe Be'emet, for example, if right now here in Miami, right? Let's say winter. I would actually split up the year in 2 times. You would say summer and winter. Yeah. Summer is 8 months of the year, right? Or even 9 or 10 months of the year. And winter is maybe 2 months, and not even whatever you call winter. But meaning that how do you know that it has to be equally 3 months? Maybe Be'emet, we're splitting it up, and it all depends. So he says, so because of that, that's why he comes and he says, that's why we're not going to learn from Yamim Yamima, because maybe Be'emet, if we're not going to learn it, that it's going to be 3 months, 3 months, 3 months, so therefore we cannot actually learn it from Miyamim Yamima. Okay? Fine. Rabbi Nehorai Omer, if you remember, we brought down before a few different opinions, right, of when can a Nazir Ulam cut his hair. Again, we're not talking about really cutting, it's like trimming the hair. We first brought down the first Shita, which the first Shita came and he said, right, Rabbi, the Rabbi says it's once a year. Then we brought down Rabbi Nehorai that it's once every 30 days. Then Rabbi Yosef that it was every single Erev Shabbat. Okay, so now we're going to try to examine the words of Rabbi Nehorai. Rabbi Nehorai Omer, Rabbi Nehorai comes and he says, you're going to cut the hair, you're going to trim the hair once every 30 days. What is the reasoning why the Kohanim have to come and do it every 30 days? Meaning a Kohen Idiot, once every 30 days he's going to come and he's going to cut his hair. Why? The same thing. Meaning you see from here that there's a minyan that once a month you take a haircut. Yeah, once a month you have to take a haircut. So Rabbi Yosef says, Megaleach me'erev Shabbat le'erev Shabbat. He comes and he says, no, you do it every single Erev Shabbat. Maika benei the Sharachui. He says, what's the difference between Shalom, that he's a Nazir, and then the other brothers then? If the other princes, if every prince does it every single Erev Shabbat, and now you're going to tell me that Shalom also does it every single Erev Shabbat, so what's the difference between them then? So, right? So answers, you understood the question.
This is not an halacha for us, right? Every 30 days. We don't make it an halacha.
So what was the difference between, right, this prince of Shalom, that he's a Nazir Olam and everybody else? So says the Gemara, Yom Tov shechal yo b'emtza Shabbat. Right? What happens if Yom Tov comes out in the middle of the week? Ta'chui megalchin, because the brothers would take a haircut lichvod Yom Tov. Vehu lo haya megalech, and he wouldn't take a haircut lichvod Yom Tov. Right? So you're listening. Inami or legaluchem in safra d'maleh Shabbat. Are you allowed to come and take a haircut on Erev Shabbat in the morning? The brothers, achui megalchin, they would do it in the morning. But he would have to do it mamash towards the nighttime, right? Because basically you could still have enough time to bring your korbanot, which is the same thing, which means that, for example, we want to take haircuts. So you could do it already for the morning, but he couldn't do it for the morning. He had to wait until it was further on in the day, that it was like basically last minute that he was able to do it, and then he would take a haircut. Okay, fine. Now the Gemara is going to mention the concept that I think that Rav Katsi mentioned before. Hani 40 shana. Mayavitau. What do we need now? This 40 years, because it says that it was 40 years. That's when Shalom came and he's told his father, he wants to pay back his neder, this and that. He wants to cut his hair. What's going on here exactly? So Rabbi Nehorai says the name of Rabbi Yoshua. What are we talking about exactly? He comes and he says we're talking about leketz 40 shana sheshalu lahen melech. It was really after the 40 years that they asked for a king. That means basically that's when they actually asked for a king, and therefore it's considered like a mered to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and that's what it means. Leketz 40 shana. It does not mean that Avshalom was 40 years old. It was 40 years old since they asked for a king. Okay. So now, which one was that? Tana. Ota shana sheshalu lahem melech hishnat eser leShmuel Aramati. It was 10 years to Shmuel Aramati, right? Now, so according to this, we could find out that the mered of Avshalom was going to be Bishnat 37 or 36 of David, because that's the 40 years after they came and they asked for a king. So it comes out that this is 36 years into the reign, or 36 or 37 years into the reign of David HaMelech. So therefore,
was 40 years old, no?
Who was 40 years old?
Shalom was 40.
No. Shalom was not.
He was 40 years old.
No. He cannot be 40 years old. Because you have to remember, right, if right now, this is the son of a Yefat Toar. Yeah. And we're talking about that he was already king. Yeah. So if he's king for 36, Shalom cannot be 40 years old. It's 40 years old when they asked for the king. So this is 36 years into the reign of David HaMelech. David HaMelech only was king for 40 years, right? So this is talking about that he was, I don't know exactly his age. It does not actually say here it actually says it in the footnote. Now the bottom of He Amud Aleph, 5a, the Mishnah on the bottom. Stam Nezirut Shoshim Yom. Remember when we're talking about now, Stam Nezirut is always going to be 30 days. Says the Gemara, right? Yeah, it's a very nice Mishnah, no? How do we know these words? Rav Matana says, says a pasuk, Kadosh Yeh. What does it mean? Kadosh Yeh. To do the Nazir, it says Yeh. What is the numerical value of Yeh? Yeh Gematariyat Latinavu. It's going to be 30, meaning Yud K, 15, 15, right? Yod is 10, A is 5, so 1, 5, 10, 5, 10, 5, 30. But Pada comes and he says, no. Keneged Nazir v'Nizro hamura b'Torah. It's the amount of times that it's written in the Torah in Parashat Nazir, the Nazir and Nizro. Meaning, if you're going to actually count them, they're going to be 30 times minus 1. Shoshim chaser echad. So if you look in the Tosfot, it's incredible, right? Not the Tosfot, sorry, the footnote 28. I have it. It says we're talking about also the leshonot of neder. So you have lindor, neder, nazir, lehazir, yazir, nizro, neder, nizro, yazir, haziro, nizro, vehazir, nizro. Yeah, each one, han-nazir, mamash, every single time, it comes out that there's going to be 29 times that it's written in the Torah to do with the concept of nazir. So therefore, if a person stam nazirut, shloshim yom.
The count.
So 1 second. Why doesn't Rav Matzna learn it from, right, Nazir Nizro? Amar Lechai, he's going to answer you, but he learned it from Kadosh Yeh, from the numerical value, the Gematria of Yeh. So Amar Lechai, he's going to tell you, only drasha. There, it was for another drasha. Why? Because, for example, when it says Miyayim v'shechar yazid, Lesser Yai Mitzvah Reshut. If you remember, we just learned this, right? That is coming to prohibit Yai Mitzvah like Reshut. So therefore, that Yazid, right, or was coming to teach you something, right? Ki afli lindor neder nazir lazid. And I mentioned Nazirut, Chalal Nazirut. Then you could do one Nazirut on another Nazirut. Meaning, he wants to say that since you could start learning all these things for a dirasha, so therefore you can't learn it for something else. Hiyamud bet, 5b. Ubarpada malecha, so according to Barpada, right, what's he going to tell you now? Because remember, according to Barpada, he learned it from Nadid Nizro. What's he going to tell you if you need each one for dirasha? So Barpada malecha, lekacha minihon delav dirasha. Says what? You're going to tell me that there's not one that doesn't need a dirasha? Elamidahu leminyana. But since that one that was extra was for the number, everything is also going to be for the minyan. That means even though you're also using it for a derasha, for something else, it's going to be okay. Okay? Tanan. We learned in the Mishnah, Stam Nezirut Shoshim Yom. Bisham al Ramatra, I understand Ramatra Nicha, it's going to be good because the numerical value is going to be Shoshim. Ela Barpada, but according to Barpada, that it's going to be 29. Kasha, it's a question. It's 29, it's not 30. Amalecha Barpada says, Barpada, I did Yom Tlatin, the Megalech, since on the 30th day you actually take the haircut and you bring your korban, that's why it's going to be Shoshim. Meaning on the 30th day in itself, that's when it's also technically you're doing Nazirut, because it's only after you already started the day. So since it's already on the 30th day, so that's what we said, that it's going to be 30 days. Okay? Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Nishamar Hareni Nazir. Somebody comes and he says that he's going to become a Nazir. So he says, Megaleach b'yom shoshim ve'echad. He can only take a haircut on the 31st day. So Bishman Ramatna, I understand Ramatna. Because Ramatna says, that you have to be a Nazir 30 days. So therefore, when do you take a haircut? On the 31st day. Nicha, it makes sense. But according to Barpada, it's a question. Because you said really it's 29 days. And on the 30th day, you're taking a haircut. Here we're saying on the 31st day, you're taking a haircut. Kasha, it's a question. And so the Gemara, Barpada is going to answer you. Let's see the Seifa. Im gilach liyom shloshim. If right now you came and you took a haircut on the 30th day, yatsa, you're going to be b'tiyavad yatsa yedechova. Ela Seifa misaele, but the Seifa is going to be a proof to Barpada. V'reisha naasa keomer shlemim. But the Reisha meaning like this. Barpada comes and he says, what was the Reisha? The Reisha was, you have to take a haircut on the 31st day. The Seifa though says, if you did do it on the 30th day, you're Yitzadeh Chuvah. So one second. So it means the Seifa is actually a proof to Barpada. But the Reisha then is saying, Ki'ilu, that you said that it's going to be done Shlemim. What does it mean Shlemim? You accept it upon yourself 30 full days. And therefore, since you accept it upon 30 full days, that's why you're going to need the next day. But really, Be'emet, it could have been already in the 29th, and then on the 30th, you would have done it. Yeah? So Ramatna Kasha Seifa, he says, okay, fine, but the Ramatna, it's still a question, the Seifa, that it's going to be B'diavad. Why is it B'diavad? At the end of the day, right, it should be even Lechatchila. So he says, Kasavar, he holds Mitzat Hayom Kekulo. We know there's a famous concept called a little bit of the day is considered the whole day. That's what we do a lot of things, right? A little bit of the day is considered the whole day. So for example, Avelut, the second that when we count 7 days, on the 7th day in the morning, after doing a little bit of the day, they already come out of Avelut. Shoshim Yom, 30 days. After a little bit of the day, they already count, they already finish out the 30 days. Huh? Right? What does that mean? I don't do a time shot. Right?
No,
he comes and he says,
it doesn't apply here.
No, 100% not. Right? What does that mean? Right? Because the entire concept is the part of the day is considered the entire day. Okay?
The same morning.
Yeah, the same day. So now we learned in the Mishnah, Hareni Nazir Shoshim Yom. If a person comes and he says he's going to be a Nazir for 30 days. Im gilach b'yom shoshim lo'etza. So if he's going to do tiglachat, he's going to come and cut his hair on the 30th day, he's not going to be Yitzadeh Chovah. So now he says, why is he not going to be Yitzadeh Chovah? So says the Gemara, Be'omer Shlemim. No, you said Hareni Nazir Shoshim Yom Shlemim. If you added the word Shlemim, so therefore, obviously, you cannot say anymore Mitzat Yom Kekulo. Mitzat Yom Kekulo, you could only say, if you didn't say that you weren't going to say Shlemim, but if you said the word that it's going to be Shalem, doesn't exist anymore the concept of Mitzat Yom Kekulo. Tonight we learned in the Mishnah, Misha Nazar Shte Nezirot. A person that comes and he made upon himself 2 different Nezirot, right? Megaleach Rishonah Yom 31, Vashniya Le 61. You do the first one on 31st day, and the second one on 61st day. So Bisham al Matna, right? I understand according to the Matna, Nicha, it's going to be good. Why? Because the first one you were doing it right on the 31 Yom, which that is the Yom HaMachorat completely, and the next one, right, is going to be also right because that's when you start immediately after you bring the korbanot and everything. So therefore, again, you're going to do it now on 61, which is again 31 for the second one, right? Ela lebarpada vavamud alef on the top. But according to Barpada, Kashya, you have a question. Why? If you're going to tell me now it's going to be 29 days, so therefore, why the Mishnah only tell you that you're only going to do it on the 31? At the end of the day, you could already do the first one on the 30th and the second one on the 60th, right? That's the question that we're going to ask on Barpada. And obviously, right, we're going to see what the answer is.